And their two stars really represent the differences and the strengths of these teams.
And you're going to see it on these graphics right here. Look at Jordan Harrison at 5'6". She was the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year this year. And on the other side of the ball, look at this Defensive Player of the Year in 2025 in the SEC, Clara Strack at 6'5". So defense comes in a lot of sizes and styles.
When you look at the average height of these starters for these two teams, the difference is stark. The length of Kentucky is imposing, but West Virginia loves to disrupt as we get started here in Morgantown. Ready for tip. And Kentucky in their Kentucky blue uniforms, West Virginia in their old gold. It's a gold rush here inside the Coliseum, and it's going to be a fun one today. Strack into the paint, misses, and Mimi Wheeler with the rebound. West Virginia with their first possession of the game. Wheeler, number 22, going to go inside. A lot of length in there to try to go up over. Gia Cook back irons it and right into the hands of Wheeler.
And the battle of the boards is going to be key for both of these teams. How they can either get offensive rebounds for second looks or defensive rebounds out in transition.
And off the offensive rebound, Gia Cook knocks down the three. And West Virginia picks up full court as we take a look at tonight's starting lineups, brought to you by Capital One. Morgan and Boone, as they just get the ball over the half-court line, will be handling the ball on the perimeter. Hassett, that terrific three-point shooter, and Tiani Key and Clara Strack inside. There's Hassett from the corner, got it. Big three-pointer. They've exchanged threes to start this game.
And that's exactly what Hassett did last game against JMU, where she hit 5 threes, and a lot of them were in that corner pocket.
Sydney Shaw, the best three-point shooter on this team, but Harrison and Cook can put them in as well. There is Shaw. She's fouled, and a potential 4-point play to get things started here.
What a play right on cue, Brenda, with Shaw being the best shooter for West Virginia. And now that's going to get the crowd into it for a 4-point play. Look at a little drive, a kick out, and Shaw is ready for that knockdown.
Amelia Hassett, the player that had hit the three-pointer on the other end for Kentucky, picked up the foul. And Shaw completes a 4-point play. How about that right away?
That's right. And when we were talking to Coach Kellogg earlier in practice, he said making buckets, scoring is going to be important here because they rely so much on their defense. But when they see that ball go through the net, they're a double tough team to beat.
Nice high-low. That's what Kentucky can do so well against this smaller West Virginia team. And Tiani Key with the basket.
I think we almost need to call that high between Kentucky because there's no low between Key and Strack, how they pass that ball.
Wheeler pulls up, and Strack with a nice block out.
On the other side for the Wildcats, they're going to want to try to get downhill, get that ball into the paint.
Asia Boone right into the hands of Jordan Harrison, the smallest player on the floor. Darts in between a couple of defenders, almost loses it, kicks out to Shaw, and Shaw steps on the sideline. The Kentucky bench was right there to help out the officials.
And even though that's a turnover for the Mountaineers, that is how they want to play today. They want to get out in transition and on fast breaks. They don't want to have to go up against this tough Kentucky team in a half-court setting.
Inside, too high, this time from Key to Strack.
And on the other side, that's the exact look that Kentucky wants, is the inside-outside game. They want to establish inside first with this huge height advantage they have.
West Virginia, the Big 12 tournament champions. They beat TCU, a team that's very similar in stature to this Kentucky team. And TCU had beaten West Virginia a couple of times during the regular season, but West Virginia beat them in the Big 12 tournament final.
Yeah, it was great to rewatch that film earlier today and see that TCU, they have 2 6'7" players, and how West Virginia was able to overcome that and win the Big 12 tournament. They won the rebounds, they defended well, even against Olivia Miles, and that's what they're able to do.
Key uses her size and takes it right at McRae inside.
And that's just too deep positioning if you're for West Virginia, because Key is so tough. Even though she's long, she is extremely physical and gets low on that low block.
West Virginia is typically good at getting in the paint, but it's going to be tougher today, and the good defense by the Wildcats inside.
And you're going to see this. Look at the Wildcat. Look at Key on the inside of the paint. She gets low, but she even stays low. And that is so critical as a post player, as if you're going to do the one power dribble and up and finish.
And so often she puts that power dribble down. It'll be interesting to see if West Virginia goes and tries to get it today.
They are so good at digging out that basketball, but you saw Kentucky can spread the floor out. That's what they're going to do. It's 4 out, 1 in, and now you see Strack on the inside of the paint.
She's posted up in the middle of the lane, and Hassett pulls up for a 3 to put Kentucky up.
And so both of the best three-point shooters on each team have hit a long three-point shot.
Oh. Big block by Strack. The number 2 shot-blocking team in the nation is Kentucky. They go inside to Obi, who's into the game. A 9-0 Kentucky run.
In the pace of this game, we were really focused on defense, but the way that both teams are scoring right now, Kentucky shooting 71% from the field.
But this is not what West Virginia wants to do. They don't want a half-court offense, but how about the courage of Harrison going in, taking it at the defense, and then there's a foul on Kentucky on the rebound. So don't let the small size fool you. They're still tough.
And because of their elite quickness and ball handling skills, Harrison is able to get the defender on her back. They still need to get a piece of that paint. What I'd love to see from West Virginia is try to get into their second and third options where there's more cutting and have to get Kentucky out of the lane and into rotations.
The foul on Jordan Obi, her first. 20 seconds on the shot clock for the Mountaineers. Shaw off to Wheeler. Wheeler probing, looking. Looks like it's off Wheeler's leg, yes, and it will be Kentucky basketball.
You see Wheeler trying to make something happen.
And Strack is just so crafty.
Yes.
She keeps a lot of blocks in play. That time she kept the ball in play by off Wheeler's leg, and she gets the offensive rebound and putback.
Yeah, she had 14 boards in that win over JMU. She can do it offensively, defensively, and she's so mobile in her 6'5" frame.
Cook out to Wheeler. Wheeler muscling her way in, makes a tough shot.
Did you see her pound her foot? Look at that right there. She felt like she got fouled on that one too.
Strack at the high post. She can turn and fire off the back iron. Sydney Shaw, did she touch it? No, she did not. It'll be West Virginia basketball when we come back.
Well, the Wildcats, they were ready to take on this gold rush with the blocks that started on the defensive end, and then they got it going with Tiani Key inside. Offensive rebounds have been huge already for Kentucky, and we've got a high-paced game already here with 6 minutes in the second round.
NCAA Women's Championship is presented by Capital One. What's in your wallet? The second round is presented by Intuit TurboTax. Now this is taxes. So the last 2 second-round appearances by both these programs have been lost by them. Kentucky lost to Iowa in 2021, and they lost last year at home to Kansas State. West Virginia lost on the road at Iowa 2 years ago and at North Carolina. This is the first time they're hosting since 1992, and Mark Kellogg has never taken a team to the Division I Sweet 16. He had success with a couple of Division II programs that made it to the national championship runner-up, but has never been to a Sweet 16 at the Division I level. And right out of the timeout, Jordan Harrison all the way to the hoop.
And just to add a little bit more on Coach Kellogg, and as the defense gets it going for West Virginia, but they can't capitalize. This was their goal, was to be able to host in front of all these fans. That's what they really wanted to do. You can see West Virginia's trying to speed up Kentucky here with their full court press.
You know, and we mentioned West Virginia has experience against a team of this length by playing TCU. Well, Kentucky has seen a lot of pressure defenses in the SEC.
Yes, you and I were going through them, whether it's Tennessee or Texas. They also scheduled Marshall, who loves to play 40 minutes of 94 pressing feet of basketball. So they were like, we're used to this. We just need to handle their chaos, is what Coach Kenny Brooks told us about this press.
And the second foul going to be called on Jordan Obie, the 6'1" grad student out of Hartford, Connecticut, as she gets a little too physical with Mimi Wheeler.
And this is a key for the game to be watching, is the officiating, the fouls, because you've seen West Virginia trying to take it into the paint. They would love to get Key or Strack into some early foul trouble in this game.
So it brings Strack and then Kaylin Carroll back onto the court. The 6'3" freshman is into the game, number 20 for the first time. Gia Cook already had 1 3, misses that one, but Carroll with the rebound. Tony Morgan, one of the best point guards in the country, number 2 in the nation in assists per game, number 5, the point guard for Kentucky. Out top there she is, but she can also hit. She hit 18 points in their first round win over JMU. Here comes Cook. No call after a collision, and Cook hustles to get the ball again. Mimi Wheeler is slow getting up and a little hobbled on that ankle, it looks like. She is such an energy player for West Virginia.
Look at how quick Cook is trying to get to the rim. She got 3 on the shot clock.
Raises up, no, looks to raise up, and Key's presence just made it too difficult. About this same time in our first round game, West Virginia trailed Miami of Ohio this exact same score at this exact same time, and at that point West Virginia went on a 17-0 run.
And there's the defensive board for West Virginia. See if they can try to put some pressure on Kentucky. That stance last time by Kentucky, their height just disrupted so much in the middle of the lane.
Wheeler going to try to muscle her way, and she does, and goes against the shot blocker inside.
That is a tough move to be able to finish around Clara Strack underneath the rim.
And that has this crowd fired up. I mean, that's a courageous move and great skill. Amazing.
Yes, and finesse on the reverse layup.
Kentucky needs a shot here to quiet this crowd. Morgan over to Key, 7 to shoot. Strack is trying to push her way in. Key got it. And that's just what Kentucky needed there.
That literally got everyone to slow down just a little bit on these fans. They were going to go crazy if they got a defensive stop.
Harrison over to Sydney Shaw. 4 players for West Virginia scored in double figures in their first round win against the Miami Redhawks, as Gia Cook takes it at Strack and is fouled. As that's her first foul. Well, for the 6th straight year, every NCAA Women's Championship game is on the networks of ESPN. For more information, go to ncaa.com. Wow, we've already seen some incredible action today. Iowa was upset by Virginia. Virginia, the first 4 team to advance to the Sweet 16. Congrats to Coach Mox and that team from Virginia.
We were trying to prepare, but it was going into double overtime. These games have been so fun. They had it on the little screen here in front of us, in front of all these fans too.
Gia Cook at the free throw line after drawing the foul on Strack, as she makes both free throws, and then she is subbed in for by Sydney Woodley, who has a specific role when she comes in.
Yeah, she's a defensive stopper. She's got a lot of length. That's the reason that she's in the game. And Makaluski, who just picked up that foul for West Virginia, she is more of a three-point shooter off the rotation for West Virginia.
She picked up her first foul. So you've got 3 subs in the game for West Virginia right now. Celia Riviere, Makaluski, and Woodley to go along with Jordan Harrison and Sydney Shaw. Morgan met by Makaluski. Good help defense. Strack puts it on the floor, rises up. can't get it to roll in, and a good hustle play and save by Kaylin Carroll. There's Harrison at 5'6", defending 6'5", and somehow, and Strack just throws it right over the top of her to Key.
That was one of the things we were going to be looking for. Is the defense is so tough from West Virginia, but it's low. And with Strack's height and wingspan, is she just going to be able to pass over the press and into the low post into Key? And they executed it right there.
Harrison short, and Strack there with the rebound. Strack already with 3 rebounds, and the shot clock is off. Toni Morgan going to take her time. The transfer from Georgia Tech. The all-time single-season assist record holder for Kentucky.
It's like Kentucky's trying to run a set play.
Key from the corner, rims in. Strack is there for the rebound. Does she have time? Got it up, got it. Big time rebound and shot by the star for Kentucky, Clara Strack. The officials are going to take a look just to make sure that went up in time. Sure looked good from our vantage point. No stranger to the Sweet 16. He took a Virginia Tech team there in 2023 onto the Final Four, and they've had to reinvent themselves this year.
Yes, as we were talking to Coach Brooks, it was about how they went through multiple seasons in one season, and you saw it there. It's kind of broken down into 3 different sections. They started off non-conference really well in the first 2 games of the SEC play. They won, and then they went out with an injury to Tiani Key. You see that she has that elbow brace on her right elbow, and she missed 6 games of the SEC, and you see that they went 2-4 during that time. So, and when you have a 6'5" player go out, Brenda, that's really hard to replace. There was a lot of different rotations within their lineup. And then she came back in, so it's another new team, another reinvention, and you see 7-5, but a lot of those losses were to top AP teams.
Yeah, all 5 losses were to teams rated in the top 7 in the country. As the shot clock is winding down on this possession for West Virginia as we start the second quarter here in Morgantown. Harrison missing that 3-point attempt. A couple of turnovers in the first quarter for Kentucky, but West Virginia was not able to capitalize. That's something they do well, is score off turnovers, and they don't have any points off turnovers here in the early going. Key, this time, hits that baseline jumper.
The touch that Key and Strack have with the basketball is elite. That's something that's going to take them even to the next level, the pro level, because they can shoot those mid-range shots and, of course, also behind the arc.
And she has 10 points already in double figures today. As you mentioned, they were 2-4 with her out of the lineup back in January. She's not out that stretch. Kentucky's not a number 5 seed. Harrison makes it to the rim and banks it in.
And as Kentucky has the ball, you mentioned, yes, they're not a 5 seed. At one point, they were actually ranked 6th in the AP polls for the Kentucky Wildcats, as it looks like we're going to get a foul on Hassett's 3-pointer there, Brenda.
Mark Kellogg is not happy about it. Hassett already has 6 points, 2 of 3 from 3-point range, and McAleskey picks up the foul to send her to the free throw line.
Well, look at this Kentucky press break. The key is because of Strack right in the middle. You always want to get the ball into the middle of the court. They go to her twice, and then you've got the shooters in Boone and Hassett spreading out the floor. That is like textbook how you can break down this West Virginia press.
And there are a lot of 6'5" players that just stand in the middle of a press like that from a lot of teams and just be able to pass like that.
Yeah, the passing is so fundamental. She can really do it all in the middle of the court with Strack, and even knows when the ball needs to go forward or out to the side.
Hassett makes all 3 free throws, and it's the largest lead of the game for Kentucky, up 8.
On the offensive end here for West Virginia, you saw Harrison make that layup. That's what they need more of. They have already shot 6 3-pointers, which is not their key. They want to get points in the paint and at least touches around the paint.
Riviere off the pass, too strong, and Kentucky rebounds it. And you're probably not going to get a lot of good looks like that around the paint or in the paint if you're West Virginia.
And in that last play by Riviere, what you need to see is a jump stop when you have all these tall players going around you.
Boone, long shot, long rebound into the hands of Hassett. Morgan calling for a ball screen from Strack. Gets around, fades away, no. And Woodley with the rebound. Gia Cook gets right in the middle of traffic, a little bit bailed out there because she was in between 4 defenders, and Kentucky commits the foul.
But what's really worked for West Virginia, and especially Gia Cook, is anytime she gets the ball, she immediately makes a move. She doesn't let the Kentucky defense get set, and that's how she's starting to get to the rim, get underneath the baseline, and also draw some fouls.
So Boone picks up her second foul. She goes to the bench. You saw Jordan Harrison also going to the bench for a breather. She won't stay there long. She plays a lot of minutes for the Mountaineers. Sydney Shaw off the mark this time. And Morgan will bring it up. Morgan against Shaw now with Harrison on the bench.
And that's an all-big SEC point guard player that has been phenomenal against this tough defense of West Virginia.
And a good rebound by Key as she is fouled by Gia Cook. And she'll go to the free throw line.
That's already 5 offensive rebounds for Kentucky. They're getting second opportunities and also getting to the free throw line.
Second chance points mounting up for Kentucky. And the fans letting Key hear that. As she comes back and makes the second, has a little grin on her face.
Yeah, what's fun about the crowd here, besides that it's a 14,000 sold out arena, is the student sections are right behind the basket, and they're trying to distract as much as this press does for West Virginia.
Woodley to Shaw. Riviere, nice bounce pass to Woodley, but she misses the layup.
And that was the third option that we were talking about earlier. Great cut by Woodley, just have to finish and go up strong with the taller players in the lane.
Nice hesitation move, and then a foul from behind by Sydney Shaw. Her first. What a move to draw the foul.
Look at Toni Morgan. Ooh, those handles. Oh, that was so pretty. And getting to the free throw line. I just love her story, Brenda, of when she transferred and wanted to play for Coach Brooks. And she said, I really want to be developed in my point guard skills. And that was the reason that she chose the Wildcats. I wanted to continue to elevate and get to the next level, specifically at the point guard position.
As you see, all SEC second team. She set the assist single season record. Georgia Amore, of course, transferred from Virginia Tech over to Kentucky with Kenny Brooks last year, set the single season assist record, and then Toni Morgan turns around and surpasses that this year. And in that development by Kenny Brooks and his legacy of great point guards.
And the WNBA is so excited to have Georgia Amore back after ACL surgery, but Coach Kenny Brooks, he's known as the point guard whisperer, and that's why Toni Morgan wanted to come to Kentucky and develop in her own way, and she has been leading this team throughout this entire season for Kentucky.
Additional moves there by Wheeler. That helps West Virginia. They are just 5 of 12 on layups because of the length of Kentucky. On the other end, the Wildcats 6 of 7. Almost a turnover, and it's a 10-second violation. Nobody touched it in the front court before 20 seconds on the shot clock.
And that is one of those things they track here in West Virginia. You can see everyone on their feet applauding that defensive pressure in the backcourt for West Virginia, causing the 10-second violation.
Gia Cook changes direction. She scores.
Did we just say what is working is her explosiveness with the basketball? She's just got to keep doing that over and over again.
They get it to Strack in the middle.
And look at nice cut by Strack.
And a blocking foul will be called on Riviere as, again, the skills of Clara Strack.
Well, we got to talk about the skills first of Gia Cook. Just look at these burners she puts on with the basketball. A little crossover underneath the defense. That is how you can break down. And then Strack moving without the basketball. Kentucky's player movement has been elite here to start this game.
Yeah, beautiful give and go for Clara Strack as the shot went down, and she will step to the line to try to complete the three-point play. A 67% free throw shooter, misses that. Key skies up. A jump ball will stay on this end of the court. But again, the length. I mean, if you were floor level with us right now, just everybody for Kentucky towering above West Virginia. They've got to block out and go up and get the ball because Key just reaching over to get that rebound.
And right now it's 17-10 on the boards in favor of the Wildcats.
Strack.
There it is.
This time Riviere with the rebound.
And we talk a lot about length, and one of the things that you have to do against length, or that you want to be successful at, is bodying them up. You really want to occupy their body, like you mentioned, whether it's the low box outs or just bringing that physicality and get them off their low center of gravity.
And the shot goes down for West Virginia. Wheeler again.
Key bringing it up the floor at 6'5".
Wheeler leading all West Virginia scores with 8 points and a double dribble called on Kentucky. Thank you, Taylor. We appreciate it. And Stress Virginia is at work in this game.
Well, I love the Stress Virginia because you're going to be stressed out trying to run offense, and just look at the Kentucky Wildcats. This is exactly what West Virginia wants you to do, is at 6'5", make you think you're a point guard, and then you get the double dribble call, and it's going the other way. Those are the kind of turnovers that they want to see. They want the 6'5" players handling the basketball.
And a nice pass, post to post. Wheeler is having herself a game, 10 points for Mimi Wheeler.
Those drop-off passes are what you have to look for when you get in the middle of the lane.
There's Strack in the middle of the court, putting the ball on the floor again, pulls up, goes after it with Riviere. It's a jump ball. Everybody is pointing toward the West Virginia end of the court. I thought the last possession arrow went toward Kentucky. The officials are going to come together and check that out. Brenda Pantoja, one of our officials, along with Michael Price and Roy Gobayan. Brenda Pantoja going to go over there and discuss it. Everybody in the arena thinks it went to Kentucky last time.
Yeah, I think they've got about 14,000 officials here trying to help them out.
Everybody in the Coliseum, and Hope Coliseum, was all over that call. So again, the press for West Virginia sped Kentucky up on that last possession. Sydney Shaw off the screen.
And that possession was when Kentucky went to a 2-3 zone. That's how you shoot them out of it.
West Virginia last led when they were up 7-5 early in the game. Kentucky has led by as many as 11 points, but West Virginia has cut it to within 2. 5 on the shot clock, and a turnover. Sydney Shaw out in front, all by herself, and she ties it up. A 9-0 West Virginia run. Strack has come near traveling the last couple of times.
I was thinking the exact same thing right in front of us here at half court.
Yeah, and Jordan Obi quiets the crowd with that ball bouncing in. Everybody was on their feet trying to get a defensive stop, and the answer from Kentucky.
Kentucky switched back to a player-to-player defense now.
Here's Shaw to Cook. Cook always ready to ignite. Mark Kellogg is directing the play from the other end and all the way to the rim. That's what Gia Gia Cook does really well.
Oh, and that was the mismatch they needed, is her athleticism against Hassett.
Tied up again. Kentucky had an answer the last time down the court. Strack turns, fires. Boy, just calm and collected. She has such a great face-up game. 8 points, 4 of 9 for the junior from Buffalo, New York. 2 minutes remaining. Gia Cook turns on the Jets again. And this time it's a blocking foul, and Gia Cook a little slow to get up.
Well, she took a hard hit there trying to get to the rim. But West Virginia is doing Mountaineer things. Let's see if Gia Cook is all right to shoot these free throws.
The foul came on Clara Strack.
But again, this is Gia Cook with the ball, and she knew that rotation was coming over, and Clara Strack is always going to look to block that shot, gets her with the body.
And she just landed hard on her backside. She makes the first. Well, coverage of the NCAA Men's Basketball Championship continues on CBS, TBS, TNT, and True TV. For tournament game times and networks, go to ncaa.com. As the men are all set up with the Sweet 16, the women try to wrap things up today to get the field completed. Cook makes both free throws, still kind of rubbing the backside. Harrison with the steal. Decides not to go up for the shot, kicks it out. Wheeler, Strack on the floor, and they're going to call a foul on Carroll as a West Virginia player was diving through the paint.
Cece Riviere right there, who you're getting a look at. Such a smart player. She is in the game because of her passing ability, and when she gets the basketball, guess what? It's going straight up. But she made that play happen moving without the basketball.
So the foul on Carroll. West Virginia has made their last 7 straight field goal attempts.
Brenda, these last couple of plays, West Virginia has started to get in it, not only because of their defensive pressure, but they're looking for that second and third option. They're trying to use those rip-throughs to get into the paint.
Wheeler on Strack going to work. Oh, and they're going to call an offensive foul. Got her with a little hook, and they caught her on it.
I don't know about that. We'll have to check that one back out. Let's see it here. Wheeler going up against Strack. Let's see if she gets her with that arm. Yes, she does hold her back. So good call by the officiating, but that left-handed finish looked nice too.
6'1" going against 6'5". You got to be a little crafty, but just was caught that time. Strack going to post up Riviere. Going to work.
I think Strack got away with a double dribble there on that move. Kind of stumbled on the block.
But West Virginia still has not been able to regain the lead. They've tied it up a couple of times. And now they're going to call an illegal screen. Too wide of a stance, Brenda Pantoja is saying. Riviere is trying to plead her case as Morgan's slow to get up.
Well, let's look at Riviere's stance, and she does take that step out, so that is the right call by the official. But Toni Morgan took a hard fall, and she's actually tearing up a little bit, so we'll see if she stays in the game, maybe grabbing that ankle.
We have seen a couple of players hit the floor hard in this game. So much on the line. Kentucky trying to get to their first Sweet 16 in 10 years. As opposed to the West Virginia program that hasn't been there since 1992. Key at the free throw line.
Looking. A huge mismatch with Shaw guarding her.
Key goes to push, but goes to post up, and it's knocked away. Out in front, Gia Cook giving chase. Turns, there's Hassett. And she draws the foul. She avoided Morgan with the spin And the defender was right there, and she drew the foul. That's Hassett's second foul.
And this all started on the defensive end with Shaw having to go against Key. Everyone on that West Virginia team knew there was a mismatch, and that's why they got in the gap to get the steal. And that's what they do, is the throw-ahead pass, because Gia Cook will run that down.
So Gia Cook and Tony Morgan. Gia Cook of West Virginia, Tony Morgan of Kentucky, both shaken up right now. Both of them, before this free throw, leaned over, kind of grabbed their backside. Both of them in a little bit of pain right now after hitting the floor hard, each of them, as Gia Cook makes her first free throw. 76% free throw shooter, all Big 12 honorable mention. She makes both. Sixth tie. There's only about 2 seconds difference between the game clock and shot clock. Carroll blocked. And an opportunity here for West Virginia to take its first lead since they were up 7-5. And Jordan Harrison took the last shot of the quarter in the first, second, and third quarters of their first round game. She hesitates and has that one blocked. And it's blocked out of bounds, 1.5 seconds remaining.
Brenda, I think that ball should have been in Gia Cook's hands, because she's got the mismatch with Hassett guarding her. She's got the speed. Now that the ball's out of bounds, look for Gia Cook again on the outside.
1.5 on the clock. Harrison, Sydney Shaw, no. That would have given West Virginia the lead, but what a first half here in Morgantown. All tied up at 36. We've had 6 ties, just one lead change, and we're going to take a break here for halftime. All tied up in Morgantown as we let you go back to the studio. Taylor Tannenbaum, Muffet McGraw, and Megan McEwen.
The NCAA Women's Championship is presented by Capital One. You are watching the second round, presented by Intuit TurboTax.
Welcome back to Morgantown, West Virginia, where we're all tied up between the 4-seed Mountaineers and the 5-seed Kentucky Wildcats. A trip to the Sweet 16 is on the line. Thanks for joining us once again, along with Ann O'Neill. I'm Brenda Van Lingen. We talked about the differences in these teams, the strengths of them. They certainly played to both of them.
They did. It was the first quarter. Kentucky had their way. They shot the 3 balls, but then they also got the ball inside. And then we'll talk about West Virginia, but you got to look at this. This is a high-low, but we got to call it high-high, because that's how high and tall Kentucky is on the inside. They had the paint points. They had blocks. They had offensive rebounds. Really got it done in that first half, or first quarter, I should say. And then Cook, she started cooking in that second quarter. She had 13 points in that first half. I want you to check this out. This is what works. How do you occupy one of the best shot blockers in the nation? Is you continue to body her up. And you saw CeCe Riviere just box her back, and then Cook able to finish.
Just amazing to me that the paint points are almost even in this game. Gia Cook leading the way for West Virginia. Tiani Key, 11 points for Kentucky. This game was tied at 30, at 32, at 34, and 36. It was close down the stretch as Kentucky led by as many as 11 points in that first half, but West Virginia closed the gap at the end. Kentucky with the first possession of the third quarter. First appearance in the Sweet 16 since 2016 on the line for the Wildcats. West Virginia hasn't been there in 34 years. And just before the halftime, Sydney Shaw had a three-pointer rim in and out and misses the first one of the third quarter. As the last time West Virginia led, it was 7-5. Boone hits the 3. She was in a little foul trouble in the first half and had limited time.
No smart read by Boone, one of the best three-point shooters in the nation that can shoot that basketball. Over 90 three-pointers she's had on the season. It looked like a mismatch where a post player was trying to guard her, so it was giving her too much space on the line.
McCray on the block, out to Sydney Shaw, puts it on the deck, and she turns it over trying to go inside. We saw Boone hit that three-pointer. She and Hassett both broke the single-season three-point record this year, and it allowed Kentucky to have their greatest three-point shooting season in their history, as a foul is committed by Sydney Shaw and will send Kentucky to the free throw line. This time it's, and Tony Morgan.
Well, just to touch on your three-point shooting stories, that was so fun to watch in the SEC tournament. They were going back and forth between breaking it between Boone and Hassett as they stand together at the top of the three-point line. And they were even assisting on those threes together.
Tony Morgan at the free throw line, the 5'9" senior from Tallahassee. They're the three-point shooters together. Did you call them the Splash Cats?
Yes, we call them the Splash Cats, yes. Only team in the nation to have two players that have over 90 threes together. Very impressive. And then that floor spacing, that's what makes the Kentucky offense work so well.
So what does West Virginia have here to start the third quarter? Gia Cook was really good. Wheeler also had a great first half in double figures. She's going to work. She's getting an offensive foul again on that hook. She had that earlier against Strack and then gets it called there, and she said, my bad.
We're going to take a look. Look for this hook. Again, yeah, a spin move and then just putting her arm behind the defensive player's back.
Key powers it inside, and Kentucky has stretched out the lead. And a timeout called by Mark Kellogg. A 7-0 run to start the third quarter for the Kentucky Wildcats.
Look at Boone dropping it inside to Key. She already has 13 points on the night for Kentucky.
A 7-0 run for Kentucky out of the halftime locker room.
And it was Asia Boone, one of the best shooters in the nation, with that lefty tray. Had a nice mismatch, and we talked about this, Brenda. The Splash Cats, look at all the three-pointers they've knocked it down. You add in the height of 6'5", Clara Strack and Tioni Key on the inside, and you've got dynamite shooters on the outside. That is what makes Kentucky so dangerous.
So West Virginia called the timeout and has the possession out of the timeout. 12 seconds on the shot clock. Good defense by Key, chasing Sydney Shaw around. 5 to shoot. Not much developing. Gia Cook trying to make something happen, and Morgan blocks it. Morgan out in transition to Boone. Can she follow it up? No, tipped. And over to Hassett, the Splash Cats. No, can't deliver that time, but Strack just rips it down, and it goes off of Strack.
That was series of events. On the other end, the defense by Kentucky. Look at Key. Look at how she can guard like a guard. And that's 6'5" player. Same with Strack. Guarding the smaller Shaw. They are just so versatile. And then Tony Morgan. And that's why they are the second in the nation at block shots. Even Morgan getting in on that.
Sydney Shaw up and under, and Strack there for the rebound. Now, a traveling call on Strack. Shaw created some disruption in the backcourt.
Because Strack was looking for the outlet pass, but Shaw, even though she missed this, just check out Shaw right here, how she picks up and is ready to defend, and then that's where Strack gets the double dribble. We mentioned it in the first half, but that is exactly what West Virginia wants you to do, is have your 4 and 5 players think that you're a point guard and where they can cause some turnovers.
West Virginia still hasn't scored here in the third quarter, 3 minutes in. Harrison changing direction, can't finish at the rim. Harrison just held to 4 points so far for West Virginia. Strack going up in traffic and scoring. Strack now with 12.
One of the things that's happening for West Virginia is their defensive transition. They are not on their right matchups, so that is why they're having to chase, and Strack gets that offensive rebound because she's against a guard instead of the post and guards matching up together.
Harrison just not able to get to the rim in this game. And Gia Cook has, though, and she banks it in. That's the first basket of the third quarter for West Virginia.
Brendan, you and I were talking at halftime how great Cook was off the dribble, and when that worked so well in the second quarter, got to go back to that.
A reverse layup missed by Morgan, but she tracks down her own rebound.
That's where some of that length comes in. That can even get those tip outs for the second opportunities.
Pass it into Strack. Little give and go to Key.
Almost thought she could dump that in the middle of the lane there.
15 points now, 7 of 10 from the field for Tiani Key. They really need one from Sydney Shaw, and she can't hit that three. All yesterday, the better seeded teams, the home teams, won to advance to the Sweet 16. It started that way today, and now we've had a couple of upsets. Iowa was upset. Notre Dame has beat Ohio State, and now we see West Virginia is in jeopardy.
Yeah, and it's because of that ball movement you just saw on the replay by Kentucky. They're just passing the ball. They're playing with a lot of energy. They're making cuts, which is what you have to do against this tough defensive team.
And a foul on McCray going to the rim. First foul on McCray. Strack, all SEC first team at the free throw line. Just building on this lead for Kentucky. They've outscored West Virginia 12-2 here in the third.
And one of the top 5 finalists for the Lisa Leslie Player of the Year award at the center position just tells you what she can do in the entire nation against so many different defenses, and also her defensive prowess. It's only a junior.
Harrison misses, gets her own rebound, dribbles it out. Sydney Shaw, got it. She had missed her last 3 three-pointers in a row. That's got to feel good for the Mountaineers.
And when they can make shots, then you see and there's going to be a foul.
Oh, they're going to call that on Gia Cook, and everybody in the Coliseum thought that was a hook on Strack. Timeout on the court. The foul on Gia Cook. The fans fired up. It'll be Kentucky basketball when we get back.
Well, Kentucky Wildcats, it's 6-5 to 6-5. Who said they can just play back to the basket? It's all about their telepathy, how they are passing, knowing where each other is on the court. They are causing some height havoc and nice cuts to the basket for the Wildcats.
And now for tonight's slam dunk matchup, brought to you by Wendy's, as Strack leading the way for Kentucky. 14 points, 9 rebounds, nearing a double-double. Gia Cook leading the way with 15 for West Virginia.
And out of the timeout, West Virginia will change up their defense again, but Boone, that's just a mismatch over there with Wheeler trying to play on the outside.
Boone racking up another three-pointer as she did earlier in the third quarter. Harrison kicks to Wheeler. Wheeler spins, avoids the hook that time, and she scored, and will go to the free throw line.
Huge opportunity for West Virginia. Jordan Harrison trying to get something going. That's the first option. Second option, that's where you can start to move the defense. And you see Wheeler able to cut through, and Strack is occupied on the other side of the block. That's what opened up the lane for Mimi Wheeler.
Wheeler misses the second free throw. Harrison back in the backcourt being pesky. They get it to Key in the middle of the court.
That's exactly where they wanted the basketball.
Boone again! Three three-pointers in the third quarter. Largest lead of the game for Kentucky. Harrison, got it. Big time answer from Jordan Harrison.
This is what West Virginia wants, with Key dribbling the basketball up the court.
Kentucky able to get through the press. Morgan just has it slip out of her hands. What a hustle play by Strack at 6'5" to save that back in. Morgan, and Wheeler commits the foul. He's trying to hustle, trying to make something happen, but the persistence by Morgan.
Well, the shots are starting to knock down. Again, Kentucky goes from one side of the floor to the other, and Asia Boone, you can't leave her open. And then Jordan Harrison with the answer for the Mountaineers.
So Toni Morgan at the free throw line. Just 4 points, hasn't hit a field goal today, but 4 of 5 from the free throw line. And that's what she's looking at through the backboard. She concentrates and hits the second. It was the third foul on Mimi Wheeler. And she is still in the ball game. Shaw, top of the key, good defense. Floating it up there, no good. And Kentucky controlling the boards. Steal from Sydney Shaw. Takes it right at Morgan, goes to the opposite side.
On that possession, Shaw just needs to be fundamental. You get the great steal, you're one-on-one, which you hardly have against this Kentucky team. Got to jump stop and finish.
Key gets her own rebound, gets tied up, gets it back, and scores. And that's just Strack and Key continuing to work together. That's a little of that telepathy you just talked about.
I mean, the way that Key is playing is phenomenal. She is going to be getting a lot of looks to play in the WNBA.
Wheeler spinning, and she goes to the other side.
And that's where that play works right there, is when the defense is on your back using that reverse layup.
14 points, 7 of 8 from the field for Wheeler. Shaw steals it. You can never count this West Virginia team out because they are so pesky, so disruptive defensively. You think that you have a little bit of rhythm, and West Virginia continues to make it tough.
Yes, they are going to still go through the gaps, the passing lanes. They will play this pressing defense for 40 straight minutes, trying to turn you over, and that's how they get to trip away at leads, as you get a look at Coach Mark Kellogg.
Mark Kellogg trying to get this team back to the Sweet 16 for the first time in 34 years. As a coach, it would be his first trip to the Division I Sweet 16.
And he is known for studying all the analytics, and that's what he did, trying to do the Sweet 16. But that's tough to go against that 6'5" underneath there against Riviere.
Nice block by Strack. Morgan, quick change of direction, beautiful jumper.
And that's Toni Morgan's bread and butter. Ball in her hands and able to hit that 15-foot jumper.
That's her first field goal of the game, as she has 7 points. Kentucky tying its largest lead at 12. Wheeler picks up her dribble. Hassett steals it. 3-on-1 for Kentucky. Morgan back out to Hassett. She had Strack running down the right side of the lane, did Morgan, but wanted to reward Hassett. Harrison drops it down to Riviere, who can't finish.
There's just too many missed layups for West Virginia. Kentucky on the other side. I love how Toni Morgan is always looking for her three-point shooter. She always knows where they're at.
Jordan Harrison picked up the foul. That's just her first. And Woodley going to check back in. She's coming in for Sydney Shaw this time. 15-4, Kentucky is out-rebounding West Virginia in this quarter alone. Toni Morgan back at the free throw line. We mentioned that she transferred from Georgia Tech. She went to high school in Florida where she was a two-sport athlete. It's so impressive. She was a track and field star, long jump, high jump, hurdles, and the 4x4 relay. I mean, you can see what an incredible athlete she is.
Yes, and she grew up playing against her older brothers who are also track athletes, football athletes, and just has that competitive nature. And this Kentucky team, what they say is when Tony Morgan is looking for a shot, we are a different and better team. And you saw her getting to the free throw line, hitting that jumper.
Under a minute to play in the third quarter. It's been all Kentucky this quarter, outscoring the Mountaineers 26-12. But Gia Cook draws the foul as she drives in and will get 2 free throws. Third foul on Asia Boone. So Kentucky has Jordan Obi, Asia Boone with 3 fouls. On the other side, Mimi Wheeler also with 3 fouls. And Gia Cook at the free throw line. This is Gia Cook's first year with West Virginia. She transferred over from Houston, where she was the second leading scorer last year for the Cougars.
And she was one of those players that Coach Mark Kellogg looked at and was like, you're going to fit perfectly into our system. We want you to score, but we also want you to defend. She has a motor for days, and love to see that when the transfer portal really works, and that's with Gia Cook and also Sydney Shaw as well.
About 6 seconds difference between the game clock and shot clock. Key dribbling high, but getting all the way down the court. Riviere takes it away. And Woodley tries to toss it ahead, but Kentucky players are there to retrieve it. And Brenda Pantoja blew the whistle because the shot clock was reset, and I don't believe Kentucky ever lost possession. So Pantoja going to go over and take a look, and they're going to put the shot clock back on, and there'll be a limited number of seconds for Kentucky. So West Virginia never was able to get possession, so they're going to put that shot clock back in order.
During this review to find out how much time is left on the clock, both teams are going to be able to set up their offense and defense. And for Kentucky offensively, whether it's the three-point shooting of Asia Boone that's been working so well, but the tandem of Strack and Key, the ball can go right into them. West Virginia, we'll see. They're usually known for switching up their defense whenever there's a timeout.
The shot clock will not be reset as there is no possession change. Therefore, the shot clock will be set to 13 seconds.
So about a 6-second difference between the shot clock and game clock, as it was.
And with Boone getting a break, your other shooter for Kentucky is Hassett, but look for the ball going in to Strack.
12-point lead for Kentucky. Knocked out of bounds by Harrison.
Or look for West Virginia, jump in the gap. But yes, the high-low action between Strack and Key, as there looked like there was a little tangle between the players out there.
Michael Price stepping in to separate some of the players. 8 on the shot clock. Strack. 4. 2. Does Key see it? Yes, she rises up and doesn't hit the rim. And so a shot clock violation for Kentucky gives West Virginia the ball with 5.3 remaining. Checking in is Riley Makaleski and Sydney Shaw, so they have some three-point shooters on the court.
And watch for Jordan Harrison putting on the burners to get downhill. The other option I like is Gia Cook with the basketball, but you mentioned it, Makaleski and Shaw, three-point shooters on the outside.
Ooh. Little fake by Jordan Harrison, but she isn't able to finish the layup. That's the way the third quarter will end, with the Wildcats having a big quarter at 62-50 as we enter the fourth.
Well, it was all Asia Boone. She wants to be a pilot, and she was ready for takeoff here in the third quarter. She hit 3 of them and giving Kentucky a lead going into the fourth.
A trip to the Sweet 16 in Fort Worth in Regional 3 is on the line. Awaiting the winner of our game is Texas, who beat Oregon 100-58 yesterday in Austin. Kentucky coming out of the halftime locker room, outscoring the Mountaineers 26-14 in the third quarter. As we look at what's at stake, Kentucky trying to get back to the Sweet 16 for the first time in 10 years. West Virginia hasn't made it there since 1992, and they haven't had any comebacks of 10 or more points this year, and that's what they're up against. As we start the fourth quarter, the Wildcats up 62-50, and Wheeler able to strike first for the Mountaineers.
And that was one of their first layups. They were 3 for 10 on layups in that third quarter, because Kentucky just can intimidate and alter your shot. But that move right there by Wheeler was big for the Mountaineers.
Key down to Strack. The two of them have worked so well together today, and a traveling call on Strack. Strack with 14 points, Key with 17. Their size has been too much for West Virginia to handle in the paint. A combined 31 points. Harrison refusing the screen. Sydney Shaw got it. 5 straight points to start the fourth quarter for the Mountaineers. And that gets the crowd into it. Key puts it on the floor all the way in for a layup. Gets right by Wheeler.
Not only did Strack break down the press, then it was Key taking it all the way in, showing their ball handling skills as well.
Sydney Shaw lines up again. Got another. Back-to-back three-pointers for Sydney Shaw. Boone matched up against Wheeler, and they switch. And a traveling call right in front of the Kentucky bench. Well, Kentucky lost last year in the second round at home against Kansas State. On the road this year, and that's part of the environment that you've got to play against when you're on the road. A sellout crowd for West Virginia. A hard screen by Strack. She receives the high-low pass and misses. I don't think she was expecting it. Here comes Harrison. Goes in between the defenders and scores it. And a Kentucky player on the floor. I believe it's Morgan. Slow to get up. Morgan is asking her coach to appeal for an unobserved foul. It doesn't look like Kenny Brooks is going to make an appeal, so Kentucky will inbound it. 10-2 run to start the fourth quarter for the Mountaineers. From the corner, short for Hassett. Here comes Gia Cook, full head of steam, no! And a tied ball goes in favor of Kentucky. Kentucky seems a little bit rattled right now.
Yes, it's the crowd, it's the defense. West Virginia came out to start this fourth quarter, and they are contesting and rushing at shots, and it is sped up Kentucky on the offensive side. This is what we expected from the Mountaineers, is this stress Virginia, because at any time they can turn it around, cut this lead down to 4.
Morgan pulls up, banks it in. Jordan Harrison had gone to the bench for just a moment, and after that basket, Mark Kellogg turned around and said, "You're back in." The Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. Sydney Shaw. Cook over to Wheeler. 8 to shoot. Wheeler looking, turning, doesn't have anywhere to go, just going to throw it up at the rim and just barely draws iron.
That opportunity looked like that ball needed to go to Gia Cook or Sydney Shaw, and they need to create something off the dribble. That's too much to ask Wheeler going one-on-one versus Key.
Strack gets it on the block. They've had so much luck having players cut to the rim. Nobody cutting for Kentucky. 7 on the shot clock. Morgan pulls up again. This time it's short. And here comes West Virginia. Cook. And right in front of Mark Kellogg, as Mark Kellogg says, "Gia, come get the basketball." Cook runs into Key, pulls it out. 7 on the shot clock. Sydney Shaw, not this time. She had 2 3-pointers earlier in the fourth quarter.
This is smart by Kentucky, is to take their time right now, get something set up. Last time, Clara Strack had a great look one-on-one. She's got excellent footwork to get her the ball back on the basket. Let's see if they look for her.
Sydney Shaw on the ball, high-low to Strack, right there.
Yeah, you can see that when a team like Kentucky, they had that opportunity to play before, they didn't find her, then you go back to her because she had the advantage.
Mark Kellogg calls a timeout because he's been waiting too long to get his star player Jordan Harrison back in the game. 5:01 remaining for a trip to the Sweet 16, and Kentucky up by 8.
How many times have we seen this? It's Key to Strack, and there are the keys for Kentucky's lead right now.
The NCAA Women's Championship is presented by Capital One. What's in your wallet? Here's the last time West Virginia made it to the Sweet 16 back in 1992. And Janae Thompson and Michaela Epps were a part of the Kentucky Wildcats when they last advanced to the Sweet 16 back in 2016. That's what's on the line today. Kenny Brooks and his squad up 68-60. West Virginia called a timeout. They had gotten within 4 points here in the fourth quarter, but Kentucky went back inside to Strack. And Gia Cook, out of the timeout, hits a huge three-pointer.
I'm not sure if that's what they drew up because they got Jordan Harrison the ball, but I like the confidence of Gia Cook putting the team on her basket there with a huge knockdown 3.
Gia Cook now with 20 points to lead the Mountaineers. Morgan throws it up at the basket, and Jordan Harrison will be called for the foul. Second foul on the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. As Toni Morgan goes back to the free throw line, she's got 11 points, 7 of 8 from the free throw line. As Tiani Key checked back into the game for the Wildcats.
And we talked about Clara Strack earlier, about her being a top 5 player of the year for the Lisa Leslie Award. You're looking at Toni Morgan, also top 5 in the nation, finalist for the Nancy Lieberman Point Guard of the Year. She's been the Iron Woman here for Kentucky this season, whether it's assisting, scoring, but orchestrating the offense for the Wildcats.
And she's the right one to be at the free throw line. This Kentucky team is 15 of 18 right now. That is not a strength of theirs, as they shoot just 70% from the field as a team. Blocked inside, a double block on Wheeler.
I think the opportunity there where Harrison passes in the post to Wheeler, as you see the Twin Towers right here, is what I would love to see Wheeler do, is do a pump fake and then kick it back out, and they can rotate that ball from the right side to the left for an open shot. You're occupying two of the tallest players. Somebody's got to be open.
Harrison uses the screen, dishes off, and Morgan called for a foul as she went around the screen, her second. This is the most points that West Virginia has given up since January 27th. Part of the reason they played so well down the stretch and won the Big 12 Tournament Championship was because of their defense. They have given up 70 points to Kentucky today.
And they usually hold teams within around 30% field goal percentage, and right now you can see Kentucky's at 48%.
And a foul on Amelia Hassett, her third, will send Gia Cook to the free throw line. Boone checks back in for Jordan Obie as Morgan comes over to talk to Kenny Brooks on the sideline. Gia Cook, a 76% free throw shooter, misses the first. She had been 8 of 8 at the free throw line before that miss. And she splashes home the second. 6-point lead for Kentucky. It was tied at halftime. And Kentucky is led by as many as 14 here in the second half. The lead is 6. And an illegal screen on Key wipes out the jumper from Morgan, and an empty possession for Kentucky, and the first foul on Tiani Key.
And that's one of the first times they've called that, but I want you to watch Key and Strack actually do that really well, where they're trying to run just a ghost screen, so it looks like they're setting a screen, but then go to the block, and it causes so much space for Toni Morgan to work in the middle of the lane. That really works for the Wildcats.
Big possession here for West Virginia. Sydney Shaw, jumper. It's back to a 4-point game.
Last couple of times, Kentucky has got the ball back to Key, and she's had to dribble up the court.
Boone against Cook.
And Boone doesn't want to play the point guard position. She can if she has to, but the ball in Toni Morgan's hands is exactly what Kentucky wants.
15 on the shot clock to start the play. Harrison looking to get around the screen. Morgan rises up. No. Chasing down the loose ball is Strack. And she knocks it off. She knocks it off the leg of Wheeler, but it's a shot clock violation. Didn't it hit the rim? I think it hit the rim.
I thought it hit the back of the rim, so.
Brenda Prentoha stepping in. Let's take a look here. Yeah, it hit the rim. They should have reset the shot clock, so Strack saving it off the leg of Wheeler will mean that it is Kentucky ball.
For a possible timing error.
Yeah, definitely a timing error. They're going to make quick work of this, I'm sure. They will reset it to 20, and then however much time counted off as it was knocked out of bounds. It actually gives both teams a chance to huddle.
Yes, and you're looking at two of the most strategic coaches in women's basketball, and Mark Kellogg and also Kenny Brooks, but we got to take a look. It does.
Kentucky's ball on the end line.
So just as we thought, Kentucky's ball on the end line. They will get the shot clock reset.
And when you're looking at this right now for Coach Kenny Brooks for Kentucky, the best thing that's been working is those high-low passes. He's got Hassett and Boone both in the game. They spread the court on the side for the three-point shots. On the other side, you've got Coach Mark Kellogg, who can switch up from a 2-3 zone, a matchup zone, or a 1-3-1, or obviously a man-to-man defense.
I mean, that was a huge play by Strack because nobody was running to get the ball after that missed shot. Wheeler was standing and watching, and Clara Strack went and got the rebound.
She was all the way underneath, or excuse me, at the top, but you can see how long she had to go get that one. And they say she's the ultimate competitor with all the strengths she wants to be in the self-development, player development. She always wants that. And look at that.
And she
wanted the
scores.
ball right there.
She wanted the ball. She got the save, the key play, and then she scores it to stretch the lead back to 6. Sydney Shaw from the corner, got it! Huge three, that's the third three-pointer of the fourth quarter for Sydney Shaw, and it's a three-point game. It's the closest West Virginia has been here in the fourth quarter. And almost stolen away, and it is. Harrison grabs it, out to Cook. Cook, one-on-one with Strack, pulls it out. Under 2 minutes to play.
Smart play by Cook to pull that one back out. She didn't want to go one-on-one against Strack on the inside.
West Virginia has not led in this game since they were up 7-5 in the first quarter. They've tied it several times. Riviere misses that one. And just not a lot of movement in that offense.
That was not the shot they wanted. That ball needs to be in one of the guard's hands, creating off the dribble.
And a guard needed to come get it.
Yes, a guard needed to come get it. And that ball needs to be in Harrison, Gia Cook, or Sydney Shaw for West Virginia. Now Kentucky calls the timeout to draw up a play.
So after that great play by Strack to keep the possession open, let's go back to her shot, and then the follow-up by West Virginia.
We said that Claire Strack wanted that basketball. Look at her footwork and moves. That is just one-on-one. And then Shaw continues to move without the basketball and be knocked down for West Virginia. She has 6 three-pointers on the night.
She is leading West Virginia with 23. So what is Kentucky drawing up out of that timeout?
If I'm Kenny Brooks, I'm going right back to what's been working all night, which is getting the ball into Strack. If West Virginia, like they've been playing, has been playing her one-on-one, and Claire Strack has too many moves and so much quickness, they can get her the ball. She can either get to the rim or do a nice fadeaway bucket.
Kentucky holding on to a three-point lead. They get it to Strack.
One-on-one in the post. Here's Strack.
And here comes Harrison to steal it away. Harrison out in transition, takes it right at Boone and picks up the foul. The Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year strips the ball from Strack.
And that is exactly what Jordan Harrison does. She doesn't only pick you up on the first time. When you turn your back, you better know that Jordan, give me that, Harrison is going to get that ball, and now she's got the opportunity at the line.
There it is once again, the steal by Harrison. The fourth foul on Asia Boone puts Jordan Harrison at the line. She makes the first free throw. It's a two-point ball game. We said West Virginia has not had a comeback of more than 10 points this season. They were down by 12 starting the fourth quarter, and Harrison makes it a one-point game.
And West Virginia will continue to press even during this time. Kentucky needs to be getting the ball into Toni Morgan's hands so she can set up the offense. The Wildcats' last couple of plays have set ball screens for Morgan and let her work, and then followed up with a post play into the below block.
There she is again, uses the screen, got it. Just like you called it, that's what they've been doing. And West Virginia calls a timeout to advance it. What a play, what a cool customer Toni Morgan is.
Yes, this is exactly what Toni Morgan does. One, she has the ball in her hands, and they have been setting screens nonstop the second half for her, and they get low on those screens, so all she has to do is a one dribble pull-up from 15 feet, and that is automatic for Toni Morgan.
It is coming down to it for a trip to the Sweet 16. Whatever the case, this will be the last home game of the careers of some outstanding West Virginia players. Sydney Shaw, Jordan Harrison, Mimi Wheeler, all seniors on this team, as well as Sydney Woodley. They want to go out with a win, but this will be their last game at Hope Coliseum. You see the numbers, 2 timeouts remaining. Kentucky, no fouls to give. West Virginia has a foul to give. What are they doing with 3 points down with 55 remaining?
After that last play where the Riviere, the post player, had that jumper, that's not going to happen again under Mark Kellogg's watch. The ball is going to be at Harrison, Cook, or Shaw's hands and making something happen off the dribble.
What's at stake? A berth in the Sweet 16 in the Fort Worth Regional 3. 10 years for Kentucky, 34 years for West Virginia.
There's Harrison off the screen. Watch for Shaw.
Good cover up by Hassett defensively. Wheeler looking for Shaw. Gia Cook, the clock is winding. 11 on the shot clock. Cook turns on the afterburners, and she's fouled by Boone. That will be the 5th foul for Asia Boone. The clock stops, and Gia Cook will go to the free throw line.
And that's a big play. One for West Virginia, but Kentucky losing Asia Boone. She is one of the best shooters over 93s on the season. With her being out, that is going to change the dynamic of the Wildcats on the offensive end of the floor. You see Obi is going to check in for her, and she is not a three-point shooter, so now only one major three-point shooter on the floor for Kentucky, and that is where they've had success of spacing it out for Key and Strack on the inside. But what's most important here is for Gia Cook to knock down these free throws for West Virginia.
Cook is a 76% free throw shooter. She's 9 of 10. She looks to be working out her calves a little bit. Seemed to kind of cramp up on her on the floor. And now the free throws. She makes the first.
You can expect West Virginia to pick up full court, apply the pressure. They want to try to get that ball to Tony Morgan's hands, but Coach Kenny Brooks knows that. He's going to call that timeout and advance the ball.
Gia Cook drains the second, and Kenny Brooks does just that. Just one timeout remaining now for the Kentucky Wildcats, but up by 1, and you see that Gia Cook is dealing with some cramping issues, but you know nothing is going to take her out of this game at this point. But Ann, up by 1. Kentucky will inbound it. What are you expecting, first of all, West Virginia to do defensively and Kentucky to do offensively?
West Virginia defensively now is matched up better with Obi into the game and Boone with that foul trouble. So with their 2 forwards, they're going to be able to match up against Strack and Obi. On the other side, for Kentucky, with Boone being out, they only have one major shooter in the game, three-point shooter, in Amelia Hassett. Their success today in this game has been the play between Tiani Key and Clara Strack, running the high-low action, and then towards the end of this half, if they are not open, I suspect Tony Morgan's going to try to get that 15-footer again off the bounce.
And you saw the caps being worked on for Cook. This is what's at stake. The winner of this game will meet Texas in the Regional 3 in Fort Worth.
You got to look at Boone there, who already hit 3 threes in the game, is now fouled out. So Kentucky playing out with one of their best shooters.
Hassett to inbound it. There's only about a 3-second difference between the game clock and shot clock. Will West Virginia play it out, or will they commit the foul?
They're committed to their defense. They will stay defending.
Harrison double team. Here comes the double team on Key. She puts the ball on the floor. It's knocked away. Obi comes up with it. Has it going to go for a 3? Goes for the knockout punch. Doesn't get it. And a timeout called by West Virginia. A timeout called as West Virginia down 1 will advance it to the front court if they call the timeout in time. Did Jordan Harrison dribble the ball before they called the timeout? Hassett was going for the knockout punch with the 3-point attempt. She missed it. The rebound for West Virginia. Did they get the timeout called first before the dribble? And you saw Michael Price holding up his hand as if Mark Kellogg had called the timeout. You saw Jordan Harrison dribbling. The difference is if they can advance or not. Let's look at it again for
This
Kentucky.
is the dedication to their defense in West Virginia. Look at, they're ready to jump and they rotate. Look at the rotations. They speed Kentucky up. Obi underneath, but this is the shot and shooter that they wanted in Hassett. Open look, but the defensive box out is so huge for the Mountaineers, and now we'll have the opportunity to get this final play.
And there was so much time on the shot clock. She didn't need to put the shot up that early. It's giving 7 seconds to West Virginia, gives them time to score.
Plenty of time. We'll see if the officials announce here.
After review, the clock failed to stop when the official called a timeout. Therefore, the clock will be adjusted to 8.3 seconds.
So even more seconds for West Virginia. And 1 point down. West Virginia with an opportunity for a game-winning score to go to the Sweet 16. Who do you expect them to go to?
It's got to be their 3 ball handlers. That is what West Virginia needs to bank on. Jordan Harrison. This is what I like about the offense. It's Jordan Harrison get downhill first, and then the weave between Shaw and Cook. Cook, if I was Mark Kellogg, I'd go back to her. She's either gotten to the free throw line or gotten looks at the rim because she has had the advantage and speed getting downhill.
So for Kentucky, do you throw a zone at them? Do you throw something different defensively at them?
I mean, I would stick. With Obi being in and Boone out with the foul trouble, they actually have even more height right now on the court. Obi number 0 along with Key and Strack on the inside. So what West Virginia needs to do quickly is get just a little bit of separation to get by the Kentucky defense and get a shot up at the rim.
Kentucky doesn't have any fouls to give. If they foul, it will send West Virginia to the free throw line. 8.3 seconds remaining. West Virginia with an opportunity to go to the Sweet 16 for the first time since 1992. Shaw looking to inbound. Gets it to Cook. Cook around the screen, pulls up, rims around, out, into the hands of Kentucky. They call a timeout. Gia Cook, who had scored 23 points today, had the look. West Virginia had the look that they wanted, and they weren't able to get it to drop.
Look at Gia Cook. Look at the separation that she's able to create with that crossover, and that just hangs on the rim right there for West Virginia. Credit can.
How close was this?
Just look at the ball holding.
Rims all the way around, doesn't drop in. And into the hands of Tiani Key. Gia Cook had the opportunity for the game-winning shot.
The play is under review for a possible timing error.
They are checking the timing on the clock. And you see the look of disappointment. They had been working on Gia Cook's cramped up calves. How much did that come into factor when she was rising up for that shot? Just wasn't able to deliver on that shot.
She is a gamer. She has performed every moment, every time she's had the ball. That was just literally the luck of the bounce in Kentucky's favor off the rim. There's still time on the clock, and the officials are going to take a look at that if there's any added time. Don't forget how fast West Virginia gets through the gaps as well.
The time the official granted the timeout.
Well, let's take a look at tonight's Capital One rewarding performance as the performance by Clara Strack for Kentucky.
Clara Strack, she did it all. It's been 5 games ago when Coach Kenny Brooks challenged her and said, "You're the worst superstar I've ever coached." And has she responded for the Wildcats? Look at her hustle. Look at her determination. Look at her intensity that she has done across the entire stat sheet. She has made an impact on every facet of this game, and that's what you want out of your superstar.
18 points and 15 rebounds for Clara Strack as Kentucky inbounds it with 0.8 remaining. The ball was touched. Was it touched by Harrison? That's what the officials are saying. They're giving the ball to Kentucky, but that will be appealed, I'm sure.
Virginia is appealing the ruling.
So the officials are going to take a look at if the ball was in fact off Kentucky or West Virginia. And it looks like, oh, it might have gone off the foot.
Might have gone off the foot of Tony Morgan.
Harrison touches it, but it goes off the foot of Morgan.
That looks like that one's going to be overturned and a West Virginia ball. Let's see if they look at the timing on that as well.
And it's definitely off the pink shoe of Tony Morgan. And so they'll, as you mentioned, they'll take a look at the call, whose possession, and how much time. And here's why that's important. If it's .2 and West Virginia gets it, they can only throw it up for a tip in. If it's .3 or less, you have to tip. You can't catch and shoot. So they will take a look at the time as well.
And that's also going to be very hard. Again, as we talked about at the very beginning of this game in the open, Brenda, was the height differential. And when you're looking at a tip play right now to get you to the Sweet 16, the length of Kentucky is going to be tough to manage on the inside.
But how about Jordan Harrison playing to the end, knocking the ball off of the leg of Tony Morgan to even give a bit of hope for West Virginia.
West Virginia plays 40 minutes, not 39 and a bit. They are going to come through those gaps, so this is still an opportunity. What I see for Kentucky is they're going to put Key and Strack in the middle of the lane, trying to look for a quick deflection because they can just try to tip it out. Also, watch for Obi, one of their 6-footers, on the ball to try to cause a little disruption on the inbound pass, because this pass has to be perfect and a tip has to be perfect for the Mountaineers.
Brenda Pantoja, and Michael Price are looking right now to determine, will the call be overturned and how much time is on the clock.
On the other side for West Virginia, even though this is a tip play, you usually look for screens and somebody coming up the middle of the court where they can get a tip. And the most athletic player that you have on the court right now for West Virginia, and the longest player, is going to be Gia Cook in the middle of the lane.
They're taking their time to get it right. So much at stake. A trip to the Sweet 16 to play Texas in Fort Worth.
We're looking at the time now with the officials, so barely, maybe it's .5, .6 left on the clock.
They're probably looking to see also, did the clock start?
Yes.
As soon as it was touched. We were watching in slow motion there, so it's hard to tell. The officials will take a look at it.
The sold-out arena with over 14,000 fans. Everyone is on their feet waiting to see these final second, I should say.
Could there be any more drama?
This game is...
Kentucky had the chance to salt it away, just getting the ball in bounds.
After review, Kentucky's leg is last to make contact with the ball, causing it to go out of bounds. Therefore, the ruling has been overturned. It'll be West Virginia's ball in the backcourt with .2 seconds on the game clock.
So it is .2 seconds. They're sticking with .2 seconds.
I'm surprised about that. That looked like there could have been a couple more points on that.
And a timeout is being called by West Virginia. A full timeout by the coach, Mark Kellogg. Again, the rule is with only .2 seconds on the clock, only a tip-in will be allowed.
And what we mean by tip-in is you can't come down with the basketball. You have to be in the air and just literally tip it with your fingertips, almost like a volleyball set up at the rim.
What a comeback by West Virginia. After being outscored 26-14 in the third quarter, they turned it around. They outscored Kentucky 23-12 here in the fourth quarter. They have not led since being ahead 7-5 in the first quarter. Kentucky kept them at arm's length, but West Virginia has kept their hopes alive here at Hope Coliseum. If they can tip it in, they will be making the trip to the Sweet 16. If Kentucky stops their attempt, it will be Kentucky facing their SEC foe Texas in Fort Worth. You mentioned it earlier, but you think Gia Cook with the length?
She is, for West Virginia, she is the most athletic player and the longest player. So you're looking at wingspan here that can get up on a pass and tip it in. So with this lineup that Kentucky's putting on the floor, I see Claire Strack and Tiani Key being in the middle of the lane. Watch for Obi or Hassett guarding the basketball if they want to put some height, or they're going to try to match up Tony Morgan on the ball this time. So they're putting so what Kentucky did instead is put all of their tall players in that.
And by calling a timeout, West Virginia was able to advance it to the front court. Illinois, Vandy coming up next. They've already started, but a little better angle here for West Virginia to throw it in. Riley Makaleski will inbound it for West Virginia. The throw up, the tip. Wait, no, a whistle. A whistle was blown. Brenda Pantoja said she caught it. She didn't tip it. No good. The attempt is no good, and Kentucky wins it. It will be a sweet trip to Fort Worth for Kentucky, advancing to their first Sweet 16 since 2016. First second round victory for the Kentucky Wildcats since 2016. They get the win on the road as the #5 seed, and a disappointing end for West Virginia. The opportunity to tip it in didn't go in for the Mountaineers, and Kentucky.
So tough again. It was a catch instead of just a tip, but what a second round here in Morgantown, West Virginia. Incredible basketball.